Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I went through this test off camera because it was being a little bit of a pain. It's a little odd because it does create warnings, but they're errors because of the way this test assistant is set up. But it does generate code, and these warnings are because, again, we are generating a method. As from the subclass, it's actually the one causing the problems. So we don't really have a choice in this case. We got to do it the way it's being shown here. So what I did is I just said, fine, we're generating code. These are considered errors in this case, but what I'm going to do in the code gen case is I'm going to actually suppress these. And in fact, I'm going to do that right now before I forget. So there's a series of these here. Okay. And 8610, because I like my stuff. Alphabetized. And then 8765. There's a rock song in there. 8765. 8675309. Close enough. All right, so we got 8610 and 8765. Good. Okay, and those will be suppressed because, again, they're just warnings. So that should take care of that. So what I'm going to do now is shut down, start up again, run all the tests, unit plus integration, then run the CodeGen test app, see if that solves the problem that I've been running into, and if that's good, then we will close this issue out. And I will move to another one that I think should be pretty easy. But let's see how far I get. Okay, there you see it. All of them done, no errors, or at least warnings that we're suppressing because that's okay. So let's update the changelog because we need to make sure we're doing that. Oh, that's right, it's up here. And this is a fix. So fixed methods are matched with nullability differences in arrays, because that's essentially what we're doing. And this is in 271. There we go. And I think that is it. Git commit 271. All tests pass. Time for a merge. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll merge everything, close the issue, and then I'll move on to the next one, which will be easy to do, but it'll be very interesting to see what it does to all the tests. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to work on next. Now, this should be easy, but not sure if it will be. Well, in terms of the work in code, it will definitely be easier. The thing is, what I do in Rock repository is this. I implement a disposable. And when I say is disposed, I will verify all of them. And I am thinking what I should do is change this, well, not change this, but change I expectations, which is interesting because we actually, we create a new expectations. Okay, that makes sense because it's really what we do. And how does this actually work? I forgot. I actually think this is something that I thought maybe this doesn't work anymore. It doesn't matter because this isn't really relevant to what I want to change. I think the point is that on I expectations, which if I look at expectations of T, that's what it derives from. And what I want to do is say, when instead of enforcing that verify is the thing to call, it should really be a dispose. And again, I've ranted about this before. Just iDisposable should have been iScopeable way back in the discussions. In retrospect, it was basically a way to say, hey, I have an object that should exist within a scope. And when it goes out of scope, it should be told it went out of the scope that it was created in, or something like that. But everybody's used and abused disposable for reasons like what I just showed. So what I want to do is say expectations are disposable, and when dispose is called, it will just go back and call verify, which makes sense because then I could have like using var expectations is equal to rock create, do all my stuff, and then I don't have to put the verify at the end. So I kind of like that pattern. The thing I'm just debating now that I'm looking at this is going, does it make sense that anything that is an expectation should be disposable? Rock repository is an expectation. It's just that's right. The create method, that's right. I just remembered. What it does is it's under the same guise as rock create. So when you say rock repository create, I believe the rock create method, or the generator, I should be more correct. Yeah, that's where, okay. It's like, why does that work? That's why. Okay, so we got that in play. And if we say I expectations, what's the thing that does the go to implementation? There we go. I think there's only one. Oh yeah, all these. But I believe all of these derive from expectations. Yes. But I think what we would want is like what's the right design here? I think is what I'm first struggling with more than I expected. I think the right design is to put it on I expectations. If for some bizarre reason we need to have another kind of expectations, that would be at the lowest point, because I expectations as a verify. Here's the other thing too. At some point, I am going to obsolete verify and just make it all in dispose. Right now, with this release, verify would still work. And so does it make sense to put it on here, or does it make sense to put it on here? God, what's the right answer? I expectations, in a sense, right now is the base, whereas expectations is really the core of everything. And we only have I expectations because we need to have a way to call verify on something that's non-generic and isn't dependent on an expectations of a certain type. I believe that's why I'm doing what I do. So I think what I would want to do, like whatever I do is going to be the wrong decision, right? Whatever I pick at this point is going to be just wrong. I'm going to go back and I'm going to regret it. But I'm really struggling, really struggling with this to say, should I expectations? Because if I remove verify, then the whole point of I expectations goes away. And I think I just answered my question. Because at some point, we're going to need all of them to be disposable in a non-generic way. Now, yes, I know we don't implement it because reasons. So what we're going to want to do here is say public void dispose. Now I don't think I have in verify. I do, which is was instance invoked. Yeah. Shut up. I don't want to do all that. I don't want to do the whole disposable pattern with this. But we really should only do it once. Though there's nothing that stops us from doing it once either. But we really should be only doing verifications once. I think this also does start to enforce, and it enforces a way to only do one verification call. So yes, I should do that. So let's have a private bool is disposed. And so if I say if this dot is disposed, then, and I know object dispose exception has all the new stuff, but exception, and then don't we want the object name of, expectations, right? Oh, come on. Oh, there. Thank you. Although, is that going to work? Oh, it's the namespace that it's actually picking up on. You know what? And I have a thing in there to move this out of a namespace expectations, but eh. So for dispose, we do that. Else this dot is disposed is equal to true. And then we're going to say this dot verify. Okay. Again, the intent is, you know, verifies the expectations. And then we say here, thrown if op has been disposed. Or I really want to say thrown if, where's the ref? No, dispose has been invoked more than once. There. Documentation is hard. Okay, so we got that going for us. So now, what else are you complaining about? No, I'm not going to do that. You're going to shut up. You can just be quiet. And moreover, I'm going to suppress this in source. Okay. And we're going to make this a sealed void. Like, won't you let me do that? Oh, because it's not an override. Okay. Fine. I was like, for a second, I wanted to say you cannot override this, but yeah. Okay. All right. Now, by doing this, eventually when we get to the integration tests, I want to go through and clean them up so hopefully I can do usings everywhere and get rid of verify, because as I just said, the intent is this verify and the verify and expectations is going to go away on I expectations. Okay. But right now we're not going to do that because that would eventually, we're going to obsolete things and eventually go away, but not right now. You can still call verify, but I really want people to start moving towards doing that. So what does that break? I got the feeling in an odd way, this may break a lot of tests because it may start going, no, it won't. It won't because, well, no, it shouldn't, because none of the generated code, I believe, will, let me do a build clean here. None of the generated code is actually going to do a using of this, of the expectations, by doing a rock creator or a rock repository. Let us see. I'm going to run the tests and see what happens. But would you look at that? 601 tests pass. Nothing fails. Which again makes sense because that should not have affected any of the generated code. But what's going to be interesting now is when I generate code for the integration tests and also the code gen tests, I may need to suppress some stuff because of reasons. So the journey's not over. I'm going to shut down, start up again, and I'm going to see what happens with the integration tests. Yes, we have errors. We have lots of errors because I have warnings as errors. And what it's saying is, for example, on this test, I'm randomly picking one. What this is saying is, you're not calling that. And here's the funny thing. I would want really my expectations to be after the insertions. Okay. But it's not the methods here. It's the issue that, no. Let's go back to the errors. Come on. Well, now we're being overwhelmed with all the stupid errors about like instance isn't here and that isn't here and all that other stuff. But you did see that there are a whole bunch of errors here. And what I'd really like to do here is say, introduce using statement. And unfortunately, that does not have, I guess fortunately maybe that I don't do this everywhere. But here's the thing. This is going to take a lot of cleanup because what I'm going to get to eventually is using this and then get rid of that. And I personally like this. I think that's a much better way of doing this. Again, opinionated, but Rox is opinionated just like anything else. And what you notice here is that we would do a using. That's interesting. I didn't think of that. I did not think of that at all. What would happen if we do this? So this is a good reason why I'm going to take a break, because I didn't quite think this through. This is going to fail because it's going to say, oh, you have a expectation exception because I expected you to pass in an arg of int, but no, you gave me a string, and that's okay for reasons. But there would be, if I put a using here, a call to dispose that's going to call verify. That's then going to also give us another expectation exception to say, hey, you didn't call this. That may undo all of this. As much as I like this, as much as I like this, I just didn't think that through. Now, of course, is that okay? Maybe. I'm going to have to think about that. Because in this case now, what I'll need to have is a using, but put around all of it an assert multiple that will assert that calling this, like I'm going to have to put that in a lambda itself, if that makes sense. Like, I think what I'm going to have to do is do something like assert multiple. Yeah, there you go. And then you do this. And then I want to say assert that. Now, calling this whole thing here, and I do using here, okay. And then I put that in here. Oh, and then I want to put this in a block. Yeah. Okay. And then we close that off. We close, wait. That's that one. But I'm missing one more, right? And then it's going to tell me, yes, we want this as an expression body member, which is going to take forever. If it took a second, because I'm recording, but there. So, and these are fine. So that's the thing that's going to happen here, is that I need to say assert multiple and then assert that doing this. But what am I asserting? I think that would also, well, it would throw, I think, a verification exception. Whoops, no, I need to do that. Now, of course, I can't run this because everything else is broken. Or not broken, it's just tree warnings as errors. But now these tests that have done that before no longer work. So I'd have to change it to being this and having an extra thing around it, which I guess arguably is fine, because what you really want to do is, you know, this should definitely throw expectation exception, but by not doing the right thing, you are going to have a verification exception. But I'm going to stop right now, eventually have dinner, and I might work on this off camera. In fact, by saying might, I mean I will, because I do not want to do all that work on camera. That would take forever, and it would be quite boring. But what I really want to do off camera is just think about, is this worth it? In the vast majority of cases, which are positive, like this one, it is a gain. I think it's the right thing to do, and it's a little bit better because most of your tests should pass. They should always be passing. You know, the only time when they fail is when you do something like this or you do something else that's not smart. So I think this is the right thing to do. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to have dinner. I might have a beer as well. And I might come back to this later tonight and just make changes, or roll the whole thing back. But either way, I'll let you know in the next episode what I do. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.